Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is facing mounting criticism over her response to the deadly wildfires gripping Southern California. More than 140,000 people have signed a change.org petition demanding that Bass resign. A lot of focus has been on her decision to travel to Ghana despite fire advisories in LA County. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti asked Bass about that yesterday.
Looking back, would you have taken that trip overseas?
You know, I am going to focus today on what we know.
For more on this, let's bring in Peter Hamby. He's a founding partner of Puck News and the host of Snapchat's Good Luck America. Peter, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. I'm glad you and everyone you know so far in LA are doing well and are safe. I think this piece that you wrote about Karen Bass is so fascinating because last week when I saw this video of her getting off the airplane and not responding to a Sky News reporter, just asking for basic comments about anything she could say to the residents of LA. I had to watch it a few times because I was just so struck by her non-response there. I know you've talked to a lot of people in Los Angeles where you are, and you've reported on politics for a long time, and I'm wondering kind of what your assessment is and how people in Los Angeles are feeling about her.
The overriding feeling here in Los Angeles, first and foremost, Caitlin, is people are helping each other. I mean, that has to be said. They're like, if you talk to anyone, I'm in Venice, I have friends who lost houses. Everyone in the city knows not just one, but multiple people who are affected by this in some way. And people are organizing on their own to bring like Zyn to firefighters and find ways to get baby clothes to people who had to flee their houses and lost everything. That being said, Los Angeles County and Los Angeles City, in the years that I've lived here and all the books that I've read, and my in-laws have told me everything they can to try to explain how complicated government and politics is out here, which makes the blame game usually very difficult. We choose to live in this beautiful place. A lot of people that live in Palisades, Altadena, Pasadena, all the way down to Orange County. You live on the coast, but you also live in the hills in a place that's burned for a very long time. The climate crisis has made fires burn faster, harder, longer, more intensely. But fire is a permanent threat here. And on top of that, you've got many layers of government. You've got the county, you've got the city. Some parts of Los Angeles, where I am in Venice, is part of the city of Los Angeles. Right next to me, Santa Monica, technically can't vote for mayor. And then you've got the Department of Water and Power and commissioners, blah, 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 blah. But Karen Bass, for a variety of reasons, including that video you just mentioned, has come in for singular blame here. It's hard to see politically how she survives this. I mean, there could be a recall here. There's a lot of anger. It requires 15% of the city's voters to sign a recall petition to get that going. But she's up for re-election next year. The big issue, because the mayor of Los Angeles has weaker executive powers than other cities in this country, the one thing you got to do is show leadership and show some sort of political agenda. She knew, we all knew here in Los Angeles from the National Weather Service on at least by Friday, January 3rd, that there was a real threat here because of the Santa Ana winds and the dry winter, that this could be a calamitous fire situation. The next day, she left. Real quick, though, two big stories just came out in the LA Times that also add to her challenges here. She was at a diplomatic reception in Ghana having cocktails while the Palisades fire was burning. Pictures of that surfaced on LinkedIn. And secondly, the LA Times reported today, and this is probably more of the fire department's issue, although she's in charge of that too, notionally, that they only had 5 trucks in place. Again, no one here was prepared for how dangerous and intense this fire was, so it's hard to point fingers. But Karen Bass is the person that I think if you talk to any random man on the street, woman on the street here in Los Angeles, they'd be mad at her.
Yeah, and there was reporting, too, to that note, that she had pledged during her campaign not to leave the country if she were elected to this position. So the optics and the politics there are, truly something to behold. I'm curious, too. I mean, I love how you mentioned that everyone in Los Angeles and surrounding areas are jumping in to help however they can and are trying to focus on each other and rebuilding their communities. But how much is there a feeling of accountability here, or at least some kind of, steps being taken by those in power, like Bass, to, do something, or is there any kind of blame going around for it?
Look, there is, again, I think for her, it's some of it is unfair. I actually think, and Caitlin, you used the word optics. Again, the city council in Los Angeles, the 15-member city council is, in aggregate, has a lot more power than the mayor. They don't have a ton of power here. But I do think that, there's questions about budget cuts. That reservoir, the Santa Ynez Reservoir near the Palisades that's been written about, there were 117 gallons of water that can go into that reservoir, which has been empty since last February. She's in charge of appointing the executives and the board of governors of the LA Department of Water and Power. But when bad things happen to people, it could be a death in the family, it could be a drug overdose. People tend to want to blame other factors and find somebody to blame. It's not super easy. The blame isn't exclusively on Karen Bass. The blame is on nature and the way that we live in Los Angeles, on the brink of danger at all times. And by the way, a lot of the houses in this city, I think 80-90% of them were built before the year 2000. In Altadena, a lot of old craftsman homes just made for tinder for these fires. And so there's so many fingers you can point to and excuses you can make. It's just that by Karen Bass leaving the country and refusing to say to that Sky News reporter anything to the people of Los Angeles when they were genuinely scared last Tuesday night and Wednesday, that just eliminates trust, and it means that no one is giving her the benefit of the doubt at this point.
Yeah, it seemed just kind of like fundamental elements of, being a leader as well. Well, Peter, thank you so much for your reporting. As I said before, I'm glad you all are safe. Our hearts are with everyone in Los Angeles and hoping that they can get through this and rebuild. But thank you so much.
Thanks, Caitlin.